Alright, what's up YouTube? 702 guy here. So what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start doing these tutorials, basically like tips and trick tutorials, just basically showing you some of the stuff that I do when I make my dubstep songs. Give you a couple like tricks, show you some mixing stuff. This one's going to be basically about the drums, making a beat. They're kind of, I guess you could say they're kind of like my step-by-step tutorials, except they focus more on one thing instead of a whole entire song. It mainly just focuses on one part. First off, before I start, I want to apologize for the fact that I haven't created any songs in a long time. I haven't put up any tutorials for a while. I've just been so busy lately. I can't I didn't have any time. I promise you, I have like 5 songs just sitting in my song bank right now, and they're not done yet. They're all incomplete. But I promise you that I'm going to start working on a lot more on those now that I'm starting to get some more time. So in the next couple of weeks, be looking forward to some more tutorials, some more songs. So anyways, aside from that, let's go ahead and get this tutorial started. So basically what I do is, like what I said in my step-by-step tutorials, is I like creating 3 parts to my beat when I make a beat. Some people like using this thing right here to make the patterns even longer, but I think that just makes it look sloppy. I like to keep it at the basically 4 bars. Alright, so most dubstep songs, as always, are about 140. They don't have to be at 140, but that's about the universal speed for dubstep. But basically what I do is I like to create it in 3 parts. So if I start making a beat, something like this. So like I got my first bar going here. Okay, so I'll stick that, or let me shrink this down a little bit. Put this in here. Then I'll create a pattern 2. Switch up the beat. You don't want to keep the same beat going, otherwise it just ruins the point, okay? So do something like this. Put that in there, so when you hear it, okay? So then we'll make a 3rd part that'll basically be, the 3rd part is basically the same as the 2nd part, okay? When I set it up, I do the first part of the beat, 2nd part, I repeat the first part again, then the 3rd part is almost like the 2nd part to me, except what I do is I try to add like an extra effect or something like that in there. Get this set up right. So basically the same exact way. What I'm doing for this one is I'm going to add a bunch of hats at the end, so it sounds like this. Alright, so add an effect in there, say right there. So when you set this beat down, so you got yourself a pretty standard dubstep beat. When you make a dubstep beat, you can kind of hear, you can nod your head to that, like easily. You want to be able to nod your head to a dubstep beat. You don't want to be like sitting there, you don't want something like insanely fast paced, it's like a dance song. But you want something to kind of nod your head to. Now a couple cool little things you can do. If you want to switch up the snare a little bit, for example. Let's take out the clap and all these. Just for shits and giggles, you know. Alright, take out all these claps. Now what you do is you can take this snare. You hit the reverse button. When you click on all these sounds in the SMP, there's these 6 buttons down here by the pre-computed effects. If you switch this to reverse, move this a little bit sooner, basically this is what the sound you get. So something like that. So when if you move that one, you need to move all your snares to the same spot. Okay, oops. Messed that one up. Alright. So now this is the beat you got. Okay, so I mean it doesn't sound so good in this kind of beat, but it's a cool little trick that kind of just makes it like a suction sound. All right, so but you can do that kind of stuff, just to kind of simple tricks like that. The effects, when you do the effects, you don't want to overuse effects. I've learned that. If you listen to a couple of my songs, a couple of my older songs, for example, my first dubstep tutorial song, way too many effects. We'll overuse the effects way too much. Okay, basically when you make a dubstep beat, you don't want an insane amount of effects, because then it just sounds like it's really cheesy. It sounds like you're like a little kid on a playground or something like that. It doesn't sound like a dubstep beat. Alright, so another thing I do to try to make that sound a little bit better, and when I show you this, don't overuse this, because if you overuse it, it'll be really obvious. Plus, you can't only use this to make your sound good. But there's a little thing in here called the sound goodizer, and it's basically, if you're not good at EQing yet, if you don't know how to equalize stuff, the sound goodizer is a great thing to start off with. So for example, what you do is normally I try to put my kick and my snare in the sound goodizer, so we're going to put both my kick and my snare in the effects 1 slot. So when you come to the mixer, insert 1 here is my kick and my snare. I can go ahead and add a sound goodizer. Alright, so if you take the sound goodizer all the way off, slowly move it up. Alright, so what I do is I try to get it a little bit, about 3/4 of the way, maybe. I don't like turning it up all the way, because to me it sounds a little too overpowering. Yeah, you don't want your beat overpowering your dubstep, because the dubstep's not just about the beat. So it's a pretty cool trick if you're not good at equalizing yet. What I would recommend personally is, I'm not going to go into this video, but learn how to equalize. Okay, the Fruity EQ over here. Oops, didn't mean to open that up. Fruity EQ. Okay, the EQ is really good. It's basically a better way to make your sounds a lot better in the song. Sound goodizer is great if you're just learning. But anyways, oh, one more thing I forgot to mention. Okay, now with the hats, you hear my hats in, for example, this pattern right here. It's on every 1 bar. Alright, so basically why I do that is I do it in all my songs, or I try to do it in all my songs. I mean, you can't always hear it because I don't use it like an insane amount. But basically why I do that is so it kind of gives, if someone's DJing my song, for example, like they're putting it in a mix, when you put something like that, it kind of gives them the tempo. It kind of gives them the idea, okay, this is the tempo of the song. This is where I need to mix the next song in, okay? So when you hear it, I mean, you can kind of tell that's at about a 140 pace when you listen to it, because like, say if I put this down to 100, you can kind of tell that it's like a really slow pace. Alright, so I put that about every 1 bar, so that way they can kind of hear it. So that's it for this tips and tricks tutorial. So if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe for more videos. As always, thanks for watching, guys.